Hello everyone and welcome to part... I've lost which part we're up to. Hello everyone and welcome to part 5 in this coloured pencil tutorial series, how to draw a cat in coloured pencils. Today we're going to carry on with the top of the head and see if we manage to get to the ear, but we'll find out. So yes. As always, everything's listed down below, including the other parts if you've just joined us in this video. And let's just get stuck in. There's probably going to be a lot of parts to this series, so I hope you don't mind. That's the only way that you can do a long tutorial in real time, because it takes so long to actually draw it. So yeah, there's probably going to be like 20 parts, but we'll see. Right. I'm just going to sharpen my pencil. I've actually slightly changed my setup today to see if it prevents the shadow from being underneath my hand. I've only got one studio light to the left of me rather than both at either side, and hopefully you'll be able to see what I'm doing a bit easier and it's not too dark. So I'm just going to use dark sepia from the polychromos, and I'm just going to start outlining that little tuft of fur there, just so I can still see it. Just like that. And I'm going to use warm grey 1 just for a base colour, and I'm just going to really lightly dab the pencil line away there. Just gonna start colouring that. It's currently Friday morning, nearly 9 o'clock, so getting this video done quite early today, so I won't be able to film it or edit it tomorrow. Go, that'll do for now. And I'm just going to use dark sepia again and just map those markings back in, because there are quite a few here. It sort of like goes I'm thinking once this full series is finished, I might do like a speeded up version of all the clips and do like a little voiceover in case anybody wants to draw along but doesn't want to watch like 20 hours of footage or however long it'll be. It's always like a weird bird noise when I have the window open. Also, while I'm talking about like YouTubey stuff, I filmed a draw with me video yesterday while I was drawing an original piece, her, and I think I might start uploading twice a week, so I'll do like a tutorial video every week and then do a little like extra draw with me, just to keep having content to post. And it's nice sometimes just to watch a draw with me if you're working on something else. I like watching them, so yeah, I'll upload that as soon as I've edited it. It might be next week. Right, before I go any further, I'm just going to use nougat, and I'm going to just start adding the little detailed bits of fur in between the markings. Just going to sharpen it a bit. Just sort of doing them in all sorts of directions. I feel like this lighting is a little bit better, so hopefully that's a bit clearer for you. I always thought that the more lighting that you had the better, but I suppose it makes a bit of a shadow having one at each side. Just going to use some dark sepia again, just where there's a few darker bits in between. My cat eating biscuits. It's actually huge. I've taken him to the vets and they said he's a bit overweight, and there's literally like nothing that we can do to stop him eating because we don't feed him excessively. I think he's eating somewhere else, but I think a lot of cats do that, don't they? Have a second home, or 4. But yeah, he's huge. It's like picking up a small child. It's like a darker bit here. I'm just going to use some raw umber, and where it's a bit more yellowy at the back end of back at the top of this bit of fur, I'm just going to slightly glaze over it. And here. I love this colour, I should use it more. Like that. And move on to the next marking. So I'll do this bit. So I'll dab out that pencil mark again. And one grey one. here and here. And dot it sepia again, just to add a guide. Going to colour this bit in. Right, it's a bit more of like a solid dark brown. And add a few more here. There's like a thinner marking. And it goes a bit up here too. And like that. And a darker bit here. Right. Oh, I'll just join this bit up. Like that. Okay. And nougat. A lot of this is the exact same process over and over again. So it's going to be quite samey. Do some at the top too. I'm going to do a few little hairs just poking off the top for a bit of extra detail. Like that. Then I'll use raw umber again and just add some warmth to this little section. It is quite yellowy. Like that, and a bit up here too. and a bit more dark sepia. Just going to darken these markings up a little bit, just where they've got a bit lost. I think there needs to be a bit more dark sepia, just brought down here. A bit more definition. Like that, and a bit more at the top. Go. Just bring these two bits together. Right. That's starting to take shape. Now on to the next bit. And I'll use one grey one again. Dab in the pencil marks. And just add that base colour. Like that, and dark sepia again for this nice thick marking here. So it like curls round a little bit. Just gonna leave a tiny little hair stroke here that's a bit lighter. Just draw around it. And here. The hairs do seem to like overlap quite a lot here, so I just want to try and mimic that. It's quite dark here. And it curls around here. Like that. And I'm just using nougat now for the extra hairs in between. Like that. And row umber, just focusing it in the top half of this marking because it does sort of stay a bit lighter there. Like that. And I'll just add a few more detail bits of detail with dark sepia. Right, now this next section is quite light, and it's like one big section with no clear markings in between apart from this top bit that I'm just gonna line with dark sepia. So it goes like all the way up here. I'm just gonna sharpen my pencil a tiny bit. If at any point you feel like the lines aren't as crisp or defined, just give your pencil a sharpen. And the rest of it is like one big section. So I am going to use 1 grade 1, I think. There is a lot of yellow in it, but I'm just going to go over the yellow bits with ivory on top. So I'm just gonna literally go over the whole thing with 1 grey 1. think I might bring it down to about here. And do this bit ivory, just because that bit is a lot more yellow, actually, looking at it. So I'm just going to sort of like fade that out a bit. And use ivory, just focusing it, those little bits. It's better. Just focusing it like in this top part. Right, and now there is a little whisker around here. I'm just gonna draw that in there, just so I don't lose it. Just really lightly draw around the top bit. And there's a darker one here, but I can put that back in on top with a darker pencil. That one doesn't matter too much. So I'm just going to use Nougat to map in some of these fur details. They're quite long and like curled round. So I'm just paying really close attention to the picture. There's some going this way, some going this way. They're a bit all over. And here, sort of go in that direction. Right. And just carry on. like that. That magpie is so loud. And I'll just carry on underneath this whisker too. So this little marking kind of like gradually blends out. So I'll just try and mimic that effect by the little brown bits of fur going gradually thinner as you get further away. Doing like a few little shapes here where there's like a really prominent lighter hair crossing over a darker section. Right, I won't go much further, I'll finish off this section first. So I'm going to use dark sepia now. Start defining. There's quite a lot of dark sepia mixed in here, so I'll just start adding that in. It's a bit more clumpy. Like little patches of it. Just trying to leave little gaps here and there to make it look like there's some lighter hairs on top. I'll carry on up here. Sort of like lighter on this outer edge, so I won't go too far with the dark sepia. Going to darken this bit up a little bit. So just twisting my pencil around every now and then to keep that sharp edge. I'll just start bringing it down. And I'll bring this down a tiny bit just so there's a few slightly longer looking hairs. And I'm just going to start connecting this bit. I'm just going to really lightly line the bottom of that whisker. And the top. Just for a tiny bit of definition. And then carry on these little first strokes. They become a bit more like few and far between the further down you get, so I'm just going to gradually start doing less. And then I'm going to just lengthen these top ones a bit, just by bringing that pencil down a bit more. Create the illusion that they're longer. Like that. And now I'm just gonna fill the rest of the top bit in. So I'm gonna use warm grey 1 just as a bit of a base. My mum. Right, I'm going to use raw umber now and focus it around the top edges where it's a lot warmer. A little bit here. And a little bit here just to blend this bit out. And I'm just going to bring it in there. And then just do like a few random bits in the middle. Like that. I think I just need to add a few more like darker little bits where I'm just pressing on a little bit harder, just add a bit more variation and a tiny bit more definition in places. And then I'm going to carry on with this top bit. Adding some really light little hairs to the top. I'm going to add a bit of nougat before I go on with too much dark sepia. Especially here, there's like a little lighter section between the darker ones. Now back to dark sepia again and just darkening this top section up. Going to sharpen it a tiny bit. Sorry, my hand was just in the way then. I'm just adding in some little dark strokes. Just leaving a few bits lighter, like it gets a bit lighter here. Like that. And now I think it's time to move on to the ear. See how far we get with that. So I'm going to use ivory. Just going to really lightly dab away the pencil. Going to use ivory up the side and around the top edge of the ear. Like that. Okay, this ear is a little bit more confusing than the last one. Just going to dab that pencil line away and add some of this ivory in where that little hair, section of hair like crosses up, and then bringing it down this section. Don't matter too much if there's a slight faint pencil line that helps you to see where things go. Right, we'll leave it at that for now and just get the guide in. Just have a drink. And we're going to use Nougat. Start mapping in the details. So I'm just literally gonna do like a definition line going up the side. I'm just going to strengthen the line on the other ear actually while we're at it. And just going to add these little hairs in while we're here. Bring them down. And start adding in some tiny little fair strokes along the left side of this ear. Just little like flicks off the edge of it. Just tidy that line up a bit so it's a bit straighter. Like so. Then I'm going to start adding in some little crisscrossing over fair strokes here, just to define that inner edge. And then I'm just going to do some downward strokes inwards. Just from the left hand side of that ear. Meet in the middle and some strokes up to the right. A bit too much. Let's dab that off a bit. Right. Just going to define them a slight bit more. Now, just to keep things, just going to define that a bit more too. Just to keep things clear, I'm going to, where it's a bit darker around this right side of the ear, I'm just going to add a little line, sort of like missing the bits where there's like a lighter bit of hair on top, like that. And I'm just gonna draw around those lighter bits just so I can keep that in my vision and I don't lose it. Like that, just sharpen it a bit. And there's like a piece going this way. A little hair there, and then this bit, sort of like that. It doesn't matter if it's not as detailed as the picture. Just keeps it in mind so that I don't forget about it. Right, just going to use dark sepia now and just add a little bit up the side. And a little bit at this side, just to make sure that what I do at that side I also do there, so it looks the same. Now I'm going to use a very sharp warm grey one to start drawing around these lighter hairs. It is a lot lighter on this ear than the other ear, so it's not going to be the exact same process. Just going to leave them really faint so I can just about see where I'm going, and I'm going to start drawing around these little tufts of fur. I'm not going to be too exact and not as detailed as the reference, but detailed enough that it looks realistic. There's like one going this way. Like that. So I'm just gonna now colour around, leaving the lighter hairs light, sort of like negative space. And then this is quite a big section. So I'm just gonna go around that. Hopefully you can see that. I know it's very light, but hopefully you can just about see it. I'm just going to colour around that bottom bit. And it is a lot pinker at this side, but I'm going to carry on with the warm grey. And then I'll go over it with like a pinky shade. And there is a bigger, chunkier bit here, so I'll just add a little shape in there. And add a bit there. It's not exact, but it doesn't need to be super exact. Fur does move naturally, and it's not always in the same place in every picture you'll take of the same animal, so as long as it looks somewhat like the picture. And then there's like a lighter bit here, so I'm just gonna leave like a tiny bit there and then colour this section in. And I am just going to add like a little detail bit there and leave this bit lighter. That. Just gonna do this bit, and then it sort of like goes in this direction. There's like a few hairs there, and then I'm just gonna leave a little hair here, draw around that, and there. Don't worry if yours doesn't look exactly like mine. It probably won't. It's very confusing, this bit, but as long as you have something like that, then we're good. Right. Just gonna do a few little strokes there. Okay, I'll add in a little bit of detail now. I'm just going to use ivory. Just there and towards the edge of the ear. Okay, now we're going to use a purpley colour. I'm going to use Sepia 10% from the Luminance range and just start defining in between those gaps around the lighter hairs. Just really lightly adding a bit of definition. I just add an extra little hair. Few just there. And this is quite a big purpley section here. I'm just going to do this bit as well. And a few bits in between here. And a few bits going this way. Really lightly there. Just have a tiny bit of definition without too much colour. And around. Right, there is like a pinky kind of colour, so I think I'm going to use brownish orange from the Pablo's, or just use whatever like rosy pinky colour that you've got, and really lightly, because it is quite pigmented. I'm just gonna add a bit of like a rosy pink shading just on the outer edge of the ear. Then I think I'll add a bit of brown after this. I love this colour. I'm going to add a bit into this brownie section. And then, just while I've got this colour, I'm going to add a little bit in the other ear, where it needs a little bit more of a pinky tone. Just focusing it to the outer edge. Like that, and maybe a teensy bit just there, and then I put a little bit here actually. I'm going to define this outer edge in a second. So I'm going to use a bit of nougat now, and just going to start defining the outer edge of this ear, just so that we don't lose any definition. Just add in a bit more of this darker section down here. And I'm going to start adding a little bit in the centre. Just at like the most centre parts of these sections. And a little bit towards the edge. And I'm going to start bringing it down a bit to draw between these like yellowy hairs. Concentrating a lot on the top. Like that. And then this bit's very brown, so I'm going to start adding that in. Just gonna add a few hairs going that way, just so that you can see. A bit more definition there. And I'll do a few more coming down. And a few more here where it's a bit darker. And I'm just going to add a little bit of nougat between these hairs, even though there's not really much contrast, but I'm going to add a little bit more just so that you can see, so it makes a bit more sense. Just do like a few wispy hairs. Like that. I'll just dab over it a tiny bit with the putty eraser just to blend it in a bit more. Just try and soften it up a little bit, and I'll just add a few more hairs of the nougat. I'll just add a bit more warm grey one here because there's no base colour. And I'll just bring that nougat down. Oh, my battery's gonna die. Must have been filming for a while. Right, I'll be right back. I'm going to use a bit of dark sepia now just to add a little bit more definition. So I'm going to add some around the edge of this section here. Then on the edge of this bit. Few bits here. And add a tiny bit up here. gonna add a few little strokes there. I'll probably finish this section off in the next part just so this video don't get too long. And I'm going to use a little bit of that brownish orange, sorry, not chestnut, brownish orange. Nope, not that one. Where's it gone? Brownish orange, there it is, from the Pablos, and I'm just going to add a bit into this section. Like that, and I'm going to use a bit of raw umber now, and I'm actually going to just dab a bit of this colour away, just because there's like a yellowy bit here, and I'm just going to warm it up with a bit of raw umber. Add a little bit. Into this section. And I think for now I'm going to leave it at that for part 5. I think this has been quite a long part, so I won't go any further in case you're just completely losing any attention span, because I know that I would be. And I'm going to come back to it in part 6, possibly just tidy it up a bit, define it, see how if there's anything else that needs doing, and yeah, we'll carry on and see how far we get next time. So I'll just zoom out so that you can see the drawing as a whole. So this is where we're up to. I think it's looking pretty good. Definitely a bit more work needs doing here, but we'll do that next time. So I hope you've enjoyed this part of the tutorial. We've still got a fair way to go, but I think it is looking good. So I'll see you next time for part 6. Please make sure to like this video if you enjoyed it, as it helps me out a lot, and subscribe if you want to see more tutorials or any drawing videos. So yeah, thank you, bye bye.